She loved how he was emotionless until her mom was in the hospital due to heart surgery and she wanted him to comfort her, but he physically couldn't cause he was so empty inside. I bought a fox pie. The owner of Vulpier Hall had been very clear. He was only here to help me get rich. Nothing else. A year later, my assets had skyrocketed to $1 billion, but wasn't he supposed to stay out of anything intimate? Why did it feel like he wanted to get under my skin? Vulpier Hall had finally reopened for the year. Rumor was they were selling a batch of fox fays again. By the time I rushed over, only one fox pie was left. The owner practically dragged him out to meet me, and wow, tall, broad-shouldered, sculpted features that were almost too perfect, like the kind of beauty that felt dangerous to look at for too long. Shame he looked like he couldn't care less about my existence. He only stared at me with a haughty, cold look. The owner shot him a warning glance before turning to me with a salesman's grin. He's the last one we've got. I'll give you 90% off. 90% off. Yeah, that screams something's wrong with him. Vulpier Hall only opened once a year, specializing in ridiculously handsome, fully trained fox fays. I'd come because I was stressed out of my mind and wanted something nice to distract myself with. A 90% discount. Either I was getting scammed or he was defective. The owner must read my expression because he rushed to explain. His training went a little sideways. Most fox fays study how to please their owners. This one, he studied how to make money. Humans always wish for wealth, right? Well, he can help you get rich. Help me get rich. Okay, that got my attention. Then why hasn't anyone bought him? I asked. The owner rubbed his hands awkwardly. Oh, he has been sold a few times, but the customers kept trying to get intimate with him. He hated it, so he kept running away. So he was pure, a chaste fox pie. The owner added quickly. We have a 1-month return policy. No questions asked. Try him out. Just if he helps you get rich. You can't try anything physical with him. Alright, I glanced at the fox pie again. Well, since the owner said all that, fine. I take him. I practically skipped home with my new fox pie in tow. On the way, I tried to break the ice. So what's your name? Fenric Thorne. That was a name befitting a haughty male lead in a CEO romance novel. I grinned and stuck out my hand. I'm Autumn Lockhart. Guess that makes me your new master. My friends always bragged about their fox fays, who called them master every so often. It sounded kind of amazing, but Fenric simply turned away, his voice cold and sharp, dripping with authority. I'm not like them. A chill shot straight down my spine. I quickly changed tactics, hands still awkwardly hovering in the air. Okay, in that case, let's be friends. He looked down at my hand like it offended him and snorted. Don't touch me. If you do, I'm going back. It was just a handshake. Was he for real? Fine. If he wanted ice cold, I could do ice cold. But honestly speaking, is it possible for Fenric to make me wealthy? I gave a faint, amused laugh. So how do I know you can actually make me rich? What if the owner gave me a busted fox pie, took my money and fled? I meant to annoy him, but he didn't even flinch. He merely glanced at me with a look that was consisting of disdain, mockery and frozen daggers. My heart throbbed, and I hurriedly averted my eyes. Fox fays were trouble by design, weren't they? Just making eye contact with him made my heart flutter. Once we got home, I couldn't help asking, so when will you start making me rich? Without a word, Fenric walked straight into the bathroom. When he came out, his hair was dripping wet. Beads of water slid down his chest and disappeared at the towel around his hips. My brain short-circuited. I shook my head violently, resisting every feral urge in my body, and forced out the only words that mattered. Make me rich. He finished blow-drying his hair, sat on the couch with perfect posture, and switched the TV to the finance channel. Only then did he speak. I'll observe you for 7 days. If you touch me during that time, I'm leaving, but if you pass the evaluation, I'll make you filthy rich. I stared at Fenric in silence. Seriously, how full of himself was he? However, I couldn't deny my racing heartbeat. At this point, I was convinced Fenric had hit me with some kind of glamour spell, because I was, unfortunately, just a little obsessed with him. I follow a ridiculous number of hot guy influencers, but none of them, and I mean none of them, looked like this fox pie. Fenric's physique walked that razor-thin line between sensual and elegant. It was a feast for my eyes. If I could just touch. No, riches first, physical contact later. If I became a millionaire, I could find any man I wanted. That was how I comforted myself. I marched into the bathroom, flinging one last line over my shoulder. Relax, sweetheart. I'm definitely not interested in you. When I came back out, wearing a tiny slip dress and towel drying my hair, my reflection in the hallway mirror was almost intimidating even to me. I mean, come on. My looks weren't exactly average. I refused to let a fox pie walk all over me in my own home, but Fenric didn't even blink. He just frowned slightly. Miss Lockhart, you're blocking my view of the television. Wow, okay, fine. The next 7 days basically became a full-on war of attrition. When he lounged shirtless, I wore one of his oversized dress shirts. When he went jogging in gray sweatpants, I would go for a swim in a bikini. At dawn, he did ab workouts on the balcony, so I sat next to him and did core exercises. Neither of us was willing to give in. However, all that bravado on my end was an act. When I saw my bestie's fox pie, I nearly drooled. Hers wasn't mistrained like Fenric. Sure, he was not as handsome, but his looks were still miles above any regular guy. My bestie, Leela Merrick, was completely hooked. It took me a few days before she agreed to meet me. While her fox pie prepared lunch, she whispered, "So, how's yours? Is he good in bed?" "I've not tried that." "What? Don't be shy. They're literally like toys made for our pleasure. You don't need to feel guilty about anything." Right as she said that, her fox pie silently appeared behind us, eyes shimmering, lashes wet. His lips trembled as he said, "Master, am I only a toy to you?" The expression, the tone, straight out of an Incubus playbook. Sorry. Due to copyright issues, I am unable to continue updating the next chapter. If you like the book, if you like this book, circ 637,629 on Good Novel to read this book.